Presiding Officer, to ask the Scottish Government, in the light of reports that small shops in Scotland fear that they cannot survive because of the costs and impacts of the Scottish Government's deposit return scheme, what its position is on Circuralrity Scotland's confirmation on 1st of March that retailers who use reverse vending machines would have to wait a full 1 month for payment for return bottles, rather than the previously expected 7 days.
Minister Lorna Slater.
The retailer handling fee, which is the payment given to retailers to cover the costs of being a return point for Scotland's deposit return scheme, is the highest fee compared to other deposit return schemes around the world. The payment terms for all manual return point operators and hospitality venues will be 7 days, and the payment terms for larger locations that install automatic return points will be longer. Circuralrity Scotland has a wide membership of producers, trade associations and retailers. Any business with concerns should contact Circuralrity Scotland for advice and support.
Fergus Ewing.
Presiding Officer, for the past 18 months, Circuralrity Scotland have, in all the documents on the website and in the presentations, confirmed that payment to retailers using reverse vending machines would be made in 7 days. Tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of pounds were invested on the basis of those commercial terms. Now that 7-day period has been extended to 1 month, a decision taken by Circuralrity Scotland with zero consultation with convenience stores, nor any explanation, nor any press release, hidden away in page 23 of this document here. So, 3 questions. First, does the Minister agree that this decision by Circuralrity Scotland was taken in both an underhand and a sleek-it fashion? Second, was she consulted on that decision? And third, will she now order Circuralrity Scotland Limited to rescind that decision?
I will remind members at this point of the requirement that supplementary questions should be brief. Minister.
To make the member aware of the context here, businesses operating return points in Scotland for Scotland's deposit return scheme have 3 options. They have the option, if they do not wish to apply for it to be a return point, and they have a reasonable grounds for exemption, they can apply for an exemption and not act as a return point. Grounds for exemption may be on health and safety grounds, including a lack of storage, or on geographic grounds, in the sense that they are close to other return points that exist. The second option that businesses have is to behave as a manual return point. This may be particularly suitable for small businesses, exactly of the type that the member is concerned about. Convenience stores who operate manual return points, who have a small volume of returns, would find that probably most convenient to them, and those small businesses, exactly the businesses that the member is concerned about, will have payments based on 7 days. Larger locations, for example large supermarkets, that have the capacity and need those automated vending machines to have that large capacity of return points, their payment terms will be longer. But that is very unlikely to affect the small businesses that the member is so concerned about. I will remind the member that this is an industry-led scheme, as was agreed across the chamber, and therefore the fees related to the scheme are a matter for industry to decide.
Fergus Ewing.
Presiding Officer, businesses have been misled, duped and deceived by Circuralrity Scotland. There is irrefutable proof of that. The Minister has completely failed for the 2nd week running to answer relevant, pertinent, vital questions. Can I ask again, was she consulted by CSL on this unwarranted, unheralded and non-consulted change from changing 7-day payment to 1 month payment, if indeed that's ever achieved under this scheme? Was she consulted? Yes or no?
Minister.
Circuralrity Scotland is a private, non-profit company, and it is responsible for operating the scheme, including setting retailer handling fees. As set out in the DRS regulations, the Scottish Government is not involved in setting retailer handling fees. The fee was agreed after extensive knowledge-gathering exercise, which included analysis and modelling by PwC, which was appointed by the scheme members.
Maurice Golden.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. There are reports Circuralrity Scotland dismissed the contributions of small producers as just, and I quote, dust in the wind. This serves to make small producers feel the Scottish Government sees them as worthless. Many are already worried sick about the pig-headed planning of this scheme. But I would like to ask the Minister, was she consulted on retail handling fee changes? Yes or no?
Minister.
I will give this member the same answer I gave previous member, which is, as set out in DRS regulations, the Scottish Government...
Minister, if you just give me a moment. Members, I'm sure we would all wish to be heard with courtesy and respect when we're speaking. Please afford the Minister that courtesy. Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. As set out in the DRS regulations, the Scottish Government is not involved in setting retailer handling fees.
Colin Smith.
Thank you, President Officer. So, just for clarification, can the Minister just say whether or not she was consulted on the changes in those handling fees? Yes or no? Because last week we heard producers give a resounding vote of no confidence in this scheme, with less than 16% registered. And this week it's retailers that are expressing concern. Pete Chamber of the Scottish Grocers Federation said the scheme was not fit for purpose, and there's real risk of thousands of stores closing due to cash flow issues or significant loss of footfall. Isn't it a damning indictment of the Minister's handling of this scheme that businesses, just 5 months before she says it will be introduced, have not been given that clear blueprint on what should happen with the introduction of that scheme, and the Minister still won't answer straightforward questions that members are asking?
Minister.
Businesses have indeed been given an operational blueprint that was published by or shared out by Circuralrity Scotland last week. Schemes of this type are in successful operation all over the world, and I will repeat what I've said earlier, is that the return handling fees are the highest in Scotland compared to other schemes around the world. Our businesses will do comparably better than other businesses around the world in comparable schemes. I'll repeat again that Circuralrity Scotland is a private non-profit company, and they are responsible for operating the scheme, including setting retailer handling fees. The Scottish Government is not involved in setting retailer handling fees.
Mark Crossgill.
Thanks. It's crucial that we continue to support small retailers to participate in the DRS scheme, because not only will they be paid through the handling fee, but it will also be an opportunity for local shops to increase footfall. That's why the Federation of Independent Retailers are calling for there to be no delay to the scheme. So can the Minister outline what is being done to ensure retailers are aware of both their obligations, but also the opportunity that this scheme presents?
Minister.
I appreciate the member's question and also his highlighting of those businesses who have invested in this scheme need this scheme to go live on August 16th, which is what the Scottish Government has committed to. Circuralrity Scotland has already contacted all retailers who have signed up for updates with information on the return point registration and exemption process. Retailers who have not signed up for these updates are encouraged to do so via the Circuralrity Scotland website. Circuralrity Scotland will also be sending a direct mail to approximately 10,000 retailers across Scotland with information about retailer registration and the exemption process. Circuralrity Scotland has been in dialogue with more than 1,000 individuals at physical and online roadshows across Scotland. They are also conducting regular meetings with trade associations representing retailers, wholesalers, drinks producers and hospitality.
And Christine Graham.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. The Minister says this is industry-led, but I have in my hand a letter published on the 6th of March, and signed by Inter alia, Director of CBI Scotland, Policy Chair of FSB, Chief Executive of Scottish Chamber of Commerce, Chief Executive of SCDI and many others, and hundreds of individuals who describe DRS in its current form as reckless. Will the Minister at very least instruct Circuralrity Scotland to remove glass from the current recycling scheme?
Minister.
Scotland's deposit return scheme, which will go live in August this year, will collect glass. Glass is one of the main 3 materials used to make single-use containers and accounts for more than a quarter of all the containers due to be included in our deposit return scheme. Of the 44 territories operating deposit return schemes in the world, only 4 of them do not include glass. Glass is one of the most common items to pollute our beaches, and broken glass poses a hazard to the public and wildlife. It also poses a threat to local authority, private sector and voluntary clean-up crews. Including it in the DRS will help reduce the amount of littered glass. The Scottish DRS business case suggests that including glass will save over 1.2 megatons of CO2, equivalent over 25 years, and will significantly increase the quantity and quality of glass recyclate.
Thank you. That concludes topical questions. Point of order, Stephen Kerr.
Presiding Officer, in the interest of those who have just watched, particularly that last topical question, and listened to the answers, so-called answers that the Minister has offered, can you clarify for the viewing audience and for all of us, does a Minister who's asked questions in this Parliament have an obligation in any sense to address the question they're being asked? Because what we have heard this afternoon is 4 occasions at least when a Minister was asked a very direct question and on every occasion refused to give a clear answer. Surely that is not acceptable. Surely that is a disrespect to this Parliament.
Thank you, Mr Kerr. While standing orders are silent on this particular issue, it is of course a matter of courtesy and respect to all members that responses to questions put address the questions that were put. There is also a requirement, of course, under the Ministerial Code on this issue. We will now move on to the next item.